Today on Baby Brunch, our conversation is about our preschoolers. Often we wonder, what is the best school for my child? Are they the right age? Should we not keep them at home? Well, today we are unpacking this topic with our educational psychologist. She's got a passion for children. She's been in the industry of psychology with children for 17 years at Southdowns College. Her passion is focusing on unlocking the potential of our young ones that stretches beyond the success of education or even a curriculum. Claire Symington is joining us on Baby Brunch today. What's the best part about your job?
I think the children. I think you do this because you have a passion for children. So arriving at school, I work in the pre-prep area. So arriving at school, you have these little ones running to you, hugging you. It makes my day. So that alone is why I love my job.
Tell me about the role as an educational psychologist. What would you be needed for typically in a school scenario?
Sure. In an educational setting, we're actually very versatile. We will, one part of our job, obviously being in an educational setting, would mean that we're involved in assessments, and that helps us to determine a child's potential and scholastic abilities. And then we also support that in the school environment. So if a child is experiencing challenges to learning, then we bridge that with the teacher, and we try and see if we can reach that success within the school setting. On the other hand, we also do preventative work and wellness workshops, looking at specific things that might pop up in the school environment, such as bullying, and then we'll do a bullying workshop, and then also psychological counselling for those kids who might be having a hard time, not only at school, but also at home. And then we're also available to teachers and parents for any guidance that they might need.
Because we believe in support, and it's always exciting to know that there's more than one expert that can help us in our family home or, to raise our village.
Yeah.
Who would an educational psychologist be supported by, if you can name a few experts?
Sure. From a medical field, we're usually supported by a psychiatrist or medical doctors. And then on a school premises or closely working with occupational therapists, speech therapists, physiotherapists, nutritionists. It really does take a village. So in terms of professionals, those were the ones that we would usually work with the most.
Today we're unpacking preschoolers.
Yes.
And we're talking the school setup. And I remember and experience still how daunting it is to raise children and then also to part with them while they go to school and I go to work.
Mm.
We've done many conversations and have had many sessions where we unpacked parting from our child, etc. But if we had to focus on the school-going child, what are my options when it comes to preschool? We're talking 2 years to 6 years old.
That's right, yes. I think in terms of preschools, most parents would be looking to either transition from home into a school setting, or a child might have been at a daycare setting and they have the luxury of moving on to a nursery school that's close by. But we also then have our more formal schooling environments. Preschools usually can be independent. In other words, they stretch from quad naught up to grade naught. And then you also get those that form part of a larger school setting. So those that go into a college setup. So that would be from quad naught to grade naught and then going into grade 1 and up.
So what are my options? There's so much out there. There's homeschooling, which sounds beautiful and nourishing. There's the unschooling element. There's Montessori. There's play-based. What's the difference between the types of schooling? Surely I only want to choose one, and hopefully that works for me.
Of course, there are so many options, and I think it's difficult to narrow it down to just one. I think it depends a lot on the family and the values of that family and what their goal is with the child. So there are many options available. So if we look at a Montessori system, for example, it is more, and also Waldorf and unschooling, we're looking at a little bit more less structure. We're looking at more relying on the children to discover and explore for themselves. Whereas if we're looking at a more structured or independent preschool, it does seem to have a bit more academic rigor. So more formalized programs, the infrastructure of a pre-primary school that's within an independent school setting also usually offers a lot more variety in terms of extramural curriculums. It's got a larger infrastructure. So I think you've got to look at what is priority for your family and what would work. Of course, some parents would like to keep their little ones at home. I always say with homeschooling, if that is a preference, of course, it has a lot of positive benefits as well, provided that you you do make the most of those years. So if your child is only at home watching TV or playing on devices, then you're not really utilizing on this important developmental milestone.
What is an independent pre-prep school?
An independent pre-prep school is usually a private school setting. And as said previously, it sort of forms part of a college usually, where we have the grade quad naught or grade triple naught up to grade naught, and that then flows into the college setting from grade 1 to 7 and even up to high school.
So how would you know if your child is a candidate for which type of learning? Sure, it's up to the home setting, but isn't it up to the child?
Partly, yes. I think you have to follow a cue from your child. I'm hoping by this age you would have some idea of your child's personality and preferences. And I think it's very much up to what you want out of it for your child. So if your child is quite routine-based and structured, you might find that a more formal environment might benefit them. Whereas other times, parents would say, well, my child is quite scatterbrained and all over the place, so maybe a more structured environment would be best for them so that they can learn that routine and structure. So it's difficult in terms of having a one-size-fits-all. Of course, there's other considerations, such as cost, whether the school has space, which area you live in. So those all help you to determine to make the best possible choice for your child.
The other day I was having a chat with some of my friends and we were chatting about how expensive schooling is. And the word investment came up. Do you resonate with that?
Absolutely. I think if we think of our children as the future, then of course we've got to invest in their education. That's the only way we'll be able to ensure that they have a good future. I think a lot of parents tend to invest in high school and in university or college tertiary education, and we often undervalue the pre-primary school as an investment. We tend to think that children should only play during that time. But if we look at brain development and the theories of learning, then we should actually understand that this is the time that is so critical. This is the time in their development where they are like little sponges. So if we invest in the pre-primary school years, I think we're actually making a much better investment in their future, setting a solid foundation for their future learning.
You know, immediately I think, but why must they go to school? Can't we just keep them at home? You know, I remember how I would miss my baby when she went to school. And I can feel how I'm getting teary about it because let alone the first day of school, and then we have to go every day, you know. There has to now, because it's your routine. So mommy has to send you every day, you know, and you're going to learn so much. But in my head, I'm thinking, I actually just want to keep you at home. We were fine.
It's a valid argument, and I think there's probably a lot of parents that still feel the same way, that to keep them at home. I think the importance is looking again at what does home offer to them versus what a preschool could offer. So if you're keeping them at home, does it mean that you're stimulating them at an age-appropriate type of level? Are you encouraging explorative, inquisitive type of activities? It is hard to have that separation, and I think especially starting if they're about 2 or 3 years old, going to big school, so I think it's quite daunting on not only the parent, but also on the child. But once they start school, we start to see how much they enjoy it. And it becomes such a pleasure to drop them off. Pre-primary schools offer a vibrant environment for them to study and to learn in. And I think because our kids are naturally inquisitive and they want to explore, these environments offer the space in which to do that. So it becomes a home away from home. And I think from a parent point of view, it's good to have some mommy time as well while they're at school, and you get to see them once you pick them up at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and I'm sure they've had a very good day.
Now, I mean, we are talking preschoolers, and they these gentle ages, you know, between 2 and 6, and they're nice and squishy. And I mean, do we create a balance? Do I send them to preschool and play school, or play group and preschool? What about a play date? Do we exclude that because they're at school now?
I think if it's up to your child, they certainly won't exclude it. I think they can't get enough of their friends. So I think it's a lot of they're at an age where I think social opportunities, whether it be a play group, whether it be going to the pre-primary school, whether it is just a play date, they love it.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good for them. So I think the more opportunities to expose them to that, the better. So if you have a play group that you're sort of complementing, I would look at something that perhaps is also paired with an extramural activity, activity. Obviously, we don't want to overschedule them, but absolutely, the more kind of exposure they can get to a social environment, the better. We must remember, Ilona, at this age, they are also establishing the emotional intelligence. So by the age of 5, a lot of the aspects such as self-esteem, self-control, and lots of social skills are already established.
Wow.
So the more opportunities we can give to rehearse those social skills, all the better.
Well, while we are in this rehearsal of social skills, one of the questions we had on our inbox on babybrunch.co.za was about curriculum-based learning. They are only 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old. Do we follow a curriculum?
I think it's helpful. If we look at curriculum design, it is usually based on the principles of the developmental milestones that we expect from a 2 to 3-year-old, 3 to 4-year-old. And I think it's a bit of a guideline to help us see what kind of activities we can expose them to, but also what do we expect from them at that age. So in terms of a school setting, if we know that 2 to 3-year-olds are starting to build with blocks, starting to build towers, then obviously we create an environment with choice, but with those types of activities easily available to them.
I'm starting to get more interested in the curriculum-based learning because I like the structure. And in my household, it's good for my children. All 4 of them were very good with routines and what am I doing next and what will I be doing tomorrow. How do I know which model is best for my child? We unpacked a little bit of some of the alternatives to preschool or even curriculum-based learning. But if we look at all the different models, how do I know my child is ready for that particular model?
The litmus test, I think, always for school readiness used to be, can you touch your ear? You know, can you go across your
head? Can you write the first letter of your name? E.
Exactly. But, and I think suddenly that's sort of become a really serious concern because I think a lot of primary schools are also writing tests to see if the child is going to be accepted to the school, especially independent schools. So parents have a lot of pressure in asking, have I prepared my child sufficiently? There's a definite turn in terms of the academic demands of children from the age of 4 to 6, where we're starting to prepare them more for learning readiness. So, of course, we're not yet focusing on them reading and spelling in South Africa, but towards grade 1, we are going to be expecting them to have those pre-literacy skills. So there's definitely more formal learning taking place in terms of phonic acquisitions, starting to hear if they can hear certain sounds or distinguish sounds from one another, and basic mathematical principles as well. So by the end of grade 0, I think parents feel so stressed out about that readiness. So I think it's not just the end of the year test. And usually parents would ask an educational psychologist to do a school readiness assessment, but certainly it's not about the results. It's about that 4 to 6 year period. And I think if your child is hitting their developmental milestones, they have enough play, they have enough exposure to activities, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think once they get to big school, we can see whether those investments have in fact paid off.
Is there time for us to catch up? The reason I ask is, I know that our 2 to 6 year olds now are the babies that were born in COVID.
Yeah.
Do we have a real concern? Should we be worried about them, their learning and where they're heading?
COVID certainly had an influence on our children's learning. I mean, we can't deny that. So it wasn't all bad. You know, I think there was a lot of good as well. So our babies grew up in hopefully homes where they were nurtured, spent a lot more time with their parents. But on the other side of the coin, we also had babies who were perhaps neglected because their parents had to work, or a device or screen time often served as the babysitter at that time. So yes, schools have become more aware of the delays potentially that we're seeing in the COVID babies, whether it be at preschool level or the older levels. The fact that schools are aware of it means that they are catering towards that. So we are finding that in our little ones especially, there's perhaps more speech and language delays. Right. We're also seeing a lot more sensory or tactile integration difficulties where loud noises seem to bother them a lot more, and we're having those sensory meltdowns. So because of all the research that was done, I would imagine a good school would do their homework and be aware of those changes and cater to them accordingly. So we have sort of stepped back a little bit and said, let's meet them at where they are at and let's bring them up to par. So certainly the goalposts have shifted somewhat.
Do our educators also help us keep track of age-related skills when it comes to curriculum-based learning?
Definitely. I think there's, whether they're 2 or 3 or 4, I think your educator's probably trained, or should be, in what is expected of that particular age group. And being a mom, I found that extremely helpful. So I'm sure even before school in a creche, or if a baby needed to move on from a bottle to a dummy or that kind of thing, you would say, oh, but they're still small, let them keep it. And that's when educators so ready to give you advice and say, you know what, it's time to now leave the dummy, or it's time to leave the bottle. And the same thing should occur at preschool. We should start getting to a level where, for example, your child should be carrying their own school bag to class, should be able to pack their lunchbox. So these are the kinds of things that a teacher would be able to encourage both in class, and then, I don't know if you've seen, but my children would come home and show those skills and suddenly say, but I can do it on my own. And it's quite an eye-opener for parents, because we want to do everything for our children, and the teachers encourage that independence. So it's lovely to have that work, school and home relationship where you're able to see, they can actually manage it. And some parents are quite surprised when they come into a classroom environment and they see their child hanging up their jacket or taking off their shoes and putting it neatly where it should be. So all those little things that they are actually capable of. And that's how we develop self-esteem. So I would say teachers are incredibly important in aligning developmental goals with the curriculum outcomes.
It's interesting because I've changed the nickname that I call my little one this week.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And this week,
Yeah.
she is Miss Independent. And you have no idea what we speak to our children, how it manifests, because all of a sudden this morning when I came downstairs, because I'm helping to get dressed, she was dressed.
Oh, wow.
No, she was dressed. Even I was shocked, okay?
Yeah.
So don't worry, she doesn't watch Baby Brunch. She won't see that I'm talking about her. But it just shows you that our children can,
Yeah, they can.
And I'm so guilty. I do a lot for them. I still want to pack the lunchbox. I want to make sure everything, has a sticker on it.
That's it.
That not only the schoolwork is done, but that the clothes are packed out for the next day.
Of course,
So I think when it comes to milestones, or even what our educators do, parents play a huge role. And we have a big responsibility to also let go.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
difficult.
And I think that's where schools are helpful, because they show you that your child can. And at the same time, it is that larger school environment where it's not one person catering to your child's needs. There's 20 or 18 other little ones that also demand that attention. So they're able to then do things more independently. And it's amazing to see the growth.
Wait a minute. Now that I have you here as our educational psychologist, the age is between 2 to 6.
Yeah.
I want to do it myself. The rejection. I must tell you that line is extremely hurtful for me. Why is it so hard?
I think we're so used to, in terms of them being little babies, it's hard to let them grow up. And I think we want to hold them small for as long as we can. There's the cuteness factor. There's, I think, a lot of, sometimes parents are very, very busy. So I think we want to have our little babies on our laps, and when we don't necessarily always have time for them during the day, there's certain things that we feel I can still nurture, or I can still do for them, that makes me feel that I'm
taking care of them. I'm validated, yeah.
Exactly. So it is hard for them once they get to that phase of I want to do it on my own, and you suddenly don't feel needed anymore. And it's a hard process to accept, but it's also such an exciting journey as well to be on, because now you're able to see how you have managed to instill certain qualities in them that they feel capable. And I think it's so necessary, because if we look at self-esteem, then one of the key areas of developing that is not letting you do everything for them. We tend to praise self-esteem and say, oh, you are so smart, you are so clever, and we're not doing them any favors. So we want that independence, because the independence is what's going to build their self-esteem. So as hard as it is for us, we've got to deal with it, because they are growing up. And I think there are certain things, and you would know with little ones, that they still seek us out, and they still want to sometimes come and be little and sit on your lap again. So just watch out for those moments and cherish those. But in terms of little tasks and chores, let them do it by themselves. They need it.
Why did you choose Southdowns College as the school where you wanted to share your knowledge and expertise?
I think they chose me. I was there from the very beginning, from inception here in 2007, and I've been there for the past 17 years. So it feels very much like home to me. It's such a family environment where my colleagues feel like friends and family. The children are warm and friendly, and the platform that it provides for us to be able to assist children in terms of the multidisciplinary approach that we follow, the curriculum that we follow, and the facilities that we have make it an absolute pleasure to work there. It's hard to leave.
Between the ages of 2 to 6, and beyond, we only want the best for our children.
Of course.
If I was a mom seeking for the ideal school, what kind of child do you see on campus? And also, as a parent, what can I get?
Of course. I'm hoping you're going to see a happy child who is well-rounded, who enjoys the facilities that the school offers in terms of both inquiry-based learning, play-based learning, but also a very solid and rigorous academic curriculum. We need to prepare them for big school. We also offer a variety of extracurricular activities that's actually included in the school fees, from swimming to playball to computers, music, all of them on campus. And then the classroom environment is extremely colorful and exciting, and we have classroom assistants that offer that one-on-one type of support that some of our learners might need. It's a vibrant, exciting school. We often have the most fun days, from Mother's Day to Father's Day, that are all dress-up activities. So all in all, it's a happy environment, and you'll see children running on the huge playground that we have, doing cartwheels, dancing, having fun.
There's a lot of support at Southdowns. You don't work alone as an educational psychologist.
I can't work alone. I need a team of people. First and foremost, I have wonderful teachers. Everything that we suggest needs to, of course, be implemented in the classroom itself. So you need teachers who are on board, who are willing to accommodate learners. We need parents who are very supportive. And, of course, management. We need to be able to have buy-in from management to be able to put some of our ideas in place. On top of that, I have a wonderful multidisciplinary team that consists of speech therapists and occupational therapists. And we are on site. So the convenience of that is incredible. And it also means that we have consultants that we can go and ask certain questions to. So I'm on a daily basis learning from them as well. And then we have our family company, which is Advitech, and they ensure that we receive up-to-date training in terms of supporting our learners as well. So it really does take a village.
There's a lot of people that want to know where they can find you and also where they can learn about Southdowns College.
Absolutely. Come and visit us. We have tours happening all the time. Just book a tour, and you're also welcome to come to our open day. And if you need any more information, visit our website on southdownscollege.co.za.
Claire, thank you so much for joining us. Well, that's our episode on preschoolers. It's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you for having me and making me feel right at home, Ilona.
Well, for more on Southdowns College, you can visit southdownscollege.co.za. For more on Baby Brunch, you can follow Baby Brunch on social media or babybrunch.co.za.